In this video, I'll show you how to create automated lead magnets using Make.com, Google Docs, and Airtable. You'll learn how to create a form for your website, collect leads, and generate personalized opt-in lead magnets. So if you're into email marketing and want to take advantage of AI automation, then this video is for you. This is a pretty straightforward automation to put together, so let's get into it. So the way this automation is going to work is we're going to build a custom form when people opt in and then give them a customized lead magnet. So that the thing they opt in for is going to be customized to the responses they put in this form. So if you look at this website here, for example, a weight loss website, they have a form here where you check eligibility and you go through a screening thing. So we can build this sort of stuff ourselves quite easily now with automations using Make.com and softwares like Airtable. And at the other end, it's going to email them a customized, tailored report to based on the responses that they gave in the form. So the way we're going to be able to do that now is on Airtable, we can create a form like this. I'll show you how to create it. And you can make it any color, shape, size, and embed it in your website really easily. So this is just a standard one. It doesn't look pretty now, but you can change that very easily. Once the form is built, and they submit it on your website, once somebody submits the form, it's going to populate a database in Airtable, which I'll show you how to build. So all the responses are going to come into this database. That is then going to automatically fire a Make.com automation in the background. When Make gets that trigger, when the form's been filled out, it's going to pull all of that data from Airtable. It's going to feed it into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is then going to create customized responses based on what they put in that form when they filled it out. It's going to then go through the flow and create a downloadable report, a weight loss report based on the input they did from the field. So this is how it's customizable. Then it's going to be transformed into a PDF and emailed directly to the customer. So it's really not that difficult to build this, and you can make this a lot more complex. I'll show you the basics of how to get this going, and then you can build whatever you want for your lead magnets from there. So to get started with this automation, you're going to need an account at Airtable. So go over to Airtable, get a free account for this. And then you want to just create a new table. So I just called this one Automated Lead Magnets, Table 1. And then once you've got it set up, you just need to fill out these columns that I've got here. So I'll just take you through filling out these columns, and then we'll move on to creating the form itself. So the first two columns here are just first name and last name. And the type of columns these are just single line of text. So just make sure you choose single line of text for those two. And then the next three columns are actually long form text. So long text here. So long text, not single line. And you just want to name these challenges, goals 3 months, goals 6 months. This will make sense when I show you when we build the form why we've got those in there, because they're coming straight from the questions that we get them to answer in the form. Then we need a formula field here. This is just a record ID. So if I just click edit here, just title this one record ID. And then drop down as a formula. So choose formula. And then I'll just open that again. And then in the formula field here, just put record underscore ID, open close parenthesis, just like I've done there. And then save that. And then the next field is an age field. So this is just a number field. So just choose number from the drop down and age. The next field is gender. So here, choose single select and then choose female or male. So they have a drop down to choose from, and then dietary requirements. So if we click edit on here, this is a multi-select. So here, instead of single select, they can choose multiple options. So you're giving them options. Are they vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free? They might be a mixture of both. All three. So this way they can choose on the form. Now, this is the power of using automation and AI is here's how we can customize a dietary plan for this person based on their needs. So if they're gluten-free, we don't want to give them a dietary plan full of food that's gluten that they can't eat. It doesn't make sense to have a one-size-fits-all downloadable report because it's not really that helpful to people. But if you have a report that's like, Jane, we've looked at, we've reviewed your responses and we've created a customized dietary plan that's gluten-free and dairy-free, they're gonna find that a lot more impressive than just something that's useless to them. So once you get this, all these fields created, what we need to do now is create the actual form. And then there's one more step in Airtable, and then we'll go over and create the automation and Make and get this going. So What you want to do is now create the actual form. So on the top of your screen, you'll notice there's a link called Forms. If you just click on Forms up there, you can see here, this is where the form builder is. So I've already built this form and called it Weight Loss Magnet. So all you got to do is just create the field. So when you're building this out, I'm not going to build it out again for the sake of time, but it's really quite straightforward to build it out. It allows you to pull in, you can just pull in fields directly from the table that we just created. And you can also, you can just add your own. So all you do is just click that plus button there, and then just fill out whatever you want, anything you want to put in the form. So you can add as many fields as you like. And you can then also, you can add, the really cool thing about Airtable is you can actually add some logic to it. So if I click in at Airtable here, you can see over on the right-hand side, there's rules. And by the way, this is where you can change some of the appearance too, if you want to change the size of it and all these things. This is really quite straightforward to customize things like this. But if you look down here, there's rules. So I can have this form where only the first name is visible. And then once they start typing in the first name, then the next box appears. And then once they start typing in this one, the next box appears. So you don't have to have a really long form on your website. You might just have first name, last name, and that's all that's visible. But as they start filling in these fields, more things start popping up like that, and it expands the form as it builds. So the way you do that is you just have this rules, and it says there's a condition here. For the last name, it's only visible where the first name is not empty. So all that's saying is that when they start typing, then this box appears. So you can play around and have some fun with what conditions that you want to put here, because you can change the conditions here. So instead of not empty, contains, or whatever, but there's a lot of options that you have. So once you've built your form, what you want to do here is basically, this is where you're gathering the information for the customizing part of the automation. So in this example, I've put, what do you find the most difficult part of losing weight? So that's something that we want to know. What are your weight loss goals in 3 months? What are your weight loss goals in 6 months? What are your dietary requirements? And here they have a drop down because I've pulled this directly in from the table. So when you build this, you have the option to pull in all those fields that we built in the actual table. And you can just build other ones as well that weren't in the table, so that there's options here. And then gender and age. So this is how you create the actual form in Airtable. So go ahead and create the form to whatever suits your particular website. And then once you've done that, then what we're going to do is build an automation to fire when this form is completed and submitted. Then we want the automation to fire. So the way we do that is go to the Automations tab at the top here. So if you go to Automations, what we're going to do is on the bottom left, create automation. And then what we're going to do is on the right-hand side, when there's a triggered type, it says when form is submitted. So this is what you want to choose when form is submitted. And then on the configuration, choose the table, which is table 1. And then you have a drop down, you can choose the form. So in this case, we've just got one form, so it's pretty straightforward, but you choose the form you just built. So what this is saying is when that form is submitted anywhere on the internet, on your website, Airtable is going to know about it, and it's going to trigger an automation. That's going to be the trigger event. So once you've got that set up, then we need to run a script, because this script is then going to run make.com to fire the automation. So the way we do this is we just go, next action is run a script. So from the drop down, run a script. And then in here, I'm going to click edit. I click edit code on the right. We're just going to paste in this code exactly like this. So the easiest thing to do here, just take a screenshot of this now and just load that into ChatGPT and ask it to spit out the code for you, and then just copy and paste it. It's the simplest thing to do. But one thing a couple of things you need to do is you actually need to change this webhook here. So we're going to show you this address won't work if you leave it like that. You have to replace it with your own webhook. We're going to get onto that in a moment. But before we do, there's over on the left-hand side, we need to create a variable. So the name here is record ID. So create a new variable, call it record ID. Pay attention to the capital I that I've got in there. So it's record capital I lower D. And then the value that you're choosing is Airtable record ID. So by clicking that plus button, you want to choose Airtable record ID. You need to have that set up for this automation to work. So once you're at this stage, just click finish editing and then turn that automation on. Now we need to go and change that webhook before this will actually work. But at this stage, once we have that changed, that's all we need to do over at Airtable. So the next step is make.com. So we're going to head over to Make. So you need an account at make.com. You can just have the most basic account over there for this to work. And if you're enjoying this video so far, please do me a favor and hit subscribe and leave me a comment below and let me know any automations that you would like created for future videos. And the first step we're going to do is create this, what's called a webhook here. So we need to create a webhook, which is this module here. So go right click, add module, create a webhook. So just go webhook here and a custom webhook instant, that one right there. So I'll just delete that because I've already got it. And then once you open that up, you then need to give it a name. So once you've given it a name and saved it, you want to copy this blue URL. So click copy to clipboard and click save. And then you want to head back over to Airtable, back into our runner script. So we're going to click edit, and that webhook URL is what you're going to paste in there. So make sure you do that step and then click finish editing, and then we're good to go. Now we're done at Airtable. So just to recap what we've done, if I go to the top to the data table, this is where all the data from the form is going to be submitted. So this is the actual table we set up. We then set up a form. So we have a form that we set up. So we've got our form set up, ready to go. And we have our automation set up. So we've got 3 things set up over at Airtable. So once you've done all that, now we can move on and create the make.com automation and the opt-in that we're going to give them. So let's just go back to Make. And the next thing we're going to do at Make is create a new module called Get a Record. It's an Airtable module called Get a Record. Here you're going to need to do the connection, go through the authentication that you need to give permission for Make to connect with Airtable. In the base in the table, you need to choose the base, which was automated lead magnets, and the table was table 1. So just to remind you where that is, on the top left, this overall table is called the base, which is automatic lead magnets. Automated, and then the table is like the sub table in here, they call it. So that's the base and table. So choose the right base and table, and then you need to map in the record ID that came out of that webhook. So when that webhook fired, it pulls in the record for the row with the information on it, and then you want to map that in like that. So just so we're clear, when we go back to the table, when we created this record ID formula here, you can see there's a record in there. So that's what that's called the record ID. Every row has its own record ID, and it automatically gets populated. Anytime a new row is created, it will get a record ID assigned to it. All we're doing is when that automation fires, when that form is submitted, which will fire off that webhook, the webhook then comes in here and grabs that record ID. Once it's got the record ID, then we can pull in all the information from this row. So the information from this row is going to be what the people filled out when they submitted the form. So if we go back over to Airtable, we're creating a record. Once you've fired that webhook, then you can map in that field. You click there and the webhook will be there. Now, in order for that to be there initially, you have to actually trigger it. So if I just unlink that, and if I just go run once like that, it's waiting for the automation to fire. Now, this isn't going to fire until I submit the form, because that's the trigger for the event. So in order to do that, if we do a test run of this really quickly, here, if I go back to my form, if I just click done, here's the form itself. So I can just type in this form here as an example. I'll just type in some information, feeling hungry, lose, I'll just put lose belly fat, lose 10 kilos, type of dietary, I'll just put gluten-free, gender, and age. So what we're doing here is we're going to submit that form now. It's submitted. Now the webhook is going to be listening for that automation, and Airtable is going to trigger off this webhook. You can see there it is there. So it pulled in the row here. So if I look here, that record ID is ending in IDU. If we go back to Airtable and we look at what just came through here, if I go back to the actual table itself, so you can see back in the table, I've done 3 submissions while testing this, but the most recent one just came through here, this third one here. So that's what I just submitted. And you can see that record ID is the record ID that just ended up in that webhook IDU. So that means that this whole row is now being pulled through. So once you do that, and you fired that test, then you can connect this Airtable module like this. And then in the mappable field here, now the record ID will be mappable. So you need to map that in and click save. The next thing we need to do here is create a ChatGPT completion model. So create a completion, you're going to need an account with OpenAI. So this is not just a normal ChatGPT account. You actually need an account with OpenAI so you can get access to the back end. So go and create an OpenAI account. You're going to need to authenticate it. So same thing you do with any modules that connect to another software from Make. You need to give it authority to do that. So go through that connection process and then select the method as we've already got that done. The model is the latest model is fine to use. And then we're going to create some prompting in here. And then we're going to start mapping in some fields from the responses from that form below in here. And then once that's done, we're going to give it an example of what we want it to output. And then we're going to let it run. So the first thing you want to do here is in the role, you want to create a first what prompt is a developer system role. And in here, you type what you're telling it, the overall direction of what you want it to do. So I put here, you're an expert weight loss and diet coach that focuses on whole foods and exercise through natural movements rather than weight loss and treadmills. So obviously this is just an example. So it understands like its role and the direction that it's trying to go in, that we wanted to go in. The next prompt here is a user prompt. So here, what we want to do here is we give it the actual task that we want it to do. So review the comments that have been submitted via our company form from a potential weight loss client and develop a 7-day diet and exercise plan that would be suitable for this person. So here's where we can start to map in the fields that came from Airtable. So I put in here all the mappable fields that we got from that form. So I put their gender, their age, first name, the challenges when losing weight, the dietary requirements, and their 3 and 6 month goals. And all of these things here are mappable fields. So if I just click out of there and just go into each of those fields here, you can see here I can just click, that's a mappable field. See, and then age, first name, all of these are coming out of the Airtable row. So we can map all of those now. So now ChatGPT is going to know the responses they submitted on the form. So once you've got that mapped out like that, the next thing is your plan needs an overview at the start and then provide a 7-day diet and exercise plan. So obviously you can customize this to whatever you want. This is just an example. The overview needs to acknowledge that the comments they made above so they can see that this is a tailored plan for them. So the overview that ChatGPT writes at the beginning of this diet and exercise plan, it needs to be tailored to them so they know that we actually read their responses. So use their first name in the overview to really make it feel personalized, but only do this once, otherwise it's overkill. The diet plan needs to take into consideration their dietary requirements. Then I've mapped that in again, meaning either they're vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free. So, and then we say your output must be in strict JSON format. So make sure you do that. And then what we're going to do below is we're going to give it an example. So we're going to choose assistant now from the drop down for another prompt. And in here, I'm just going to say, below is an example output only. Your plan needs 7 days for diet and 7 days for exercise. So this is just an example. So the example is in JSON format. So we do open squiggly brackets, and then we do in quotations the first part, which is what we call the key. So the overview of the plan is the first part. So we do that, and then we put it in, we do a semicolon, and then in quotes again, we do the value, which is the other part of this. So this is just giving them an example of what an overview might look like at the beginning of the plan. So that's what that is. Then we do a comma, and then we say, here's an example of the diet plan, like this. So again, same structure, but in the diet plan, we can have a collection of results here. So the best thing for you to do here, if you don't know how to do any simple coding, is just take a screenshot of these examples and again, paste them into ChatGPT and get it to recreate it, and then just tailor this to however you want. Or you can just ask ChatGPT to write you an example JSON output for whatever you're trying to achieve in your customized lead magnet. So in this case, this second part of the output is a diet plan. And then I give it an example of how I want the diet plan to look. Day 1, meal 1, time, type of meal, calories, macronutrients, breakdown, and then meal 2, meal 3, meal 4, meal 5. And I just kind of give it an example. This is how I want the type of content I want you to create in this structure. And then the same with the exercise plan. Day 1, workout day 1, I give it an example. Now, again, this is just a quick example. I would take a lot more time to create this, really, really the way I want it. But for now, you get the idea. So now ChatGPT knows exactly what we're trying to do, and it's creating a customized response. So we can save that out from here. So what we can do then is if we just unclick that now, we can actually run this here at this stage with just these 3 modules. So the way we're going to do that is we can just take we're going to disconnect the webhook at the beginning here, and we're going to move this instant trigger over to here, and we're going to change that to on demand like that, and just click save, and then run anyway. That's fine. And we're going to save it. What we're going to do here is we're just going to get the record ID from any row here that we want. Copy that record ID, and then I'm going to go back here, and if I run this module only, whoops, there's an error there. I just have to open that up here. Instead of having a mappable field for record ID, for now I'm just actually going to hard code the record ID in there like that, and then I'm going to run that once like this. See, what's happening now is I'm just doing a quick test without having to fill the form in again. And now ChatGPT is getting the record from that particular row and it's creating the response. So this is just for testing purposes. Then I'll put that back the way we had it in a moment. So I'll just pause the video while this here it comes through now. So we can look at the output of this here and look at the result that came out. So you can see here, ChatGPT has done a customized response. So straight away, you can see it's got my name in here. So it customizes it to my name, Matt. This is a tailored response. There'll be other, it's looked at my weight loss goals that I put in. I want to lose belly fat over the next 10 kgs over the next 6 months. It understands that I find losing weight, I get hungry. And it's addressed that by having protein dense meals. And then other customizable things, I'm not sure. It's looked at my responses pretty much and given a customized response. So that's the overview. And then you can see in here, it's done a 7-day diet plan here. So based on my responses, which I can't remember what I put in there, I think it was gluten-free that I put in there. It's going to create a gluten-free diet plan here. And you can see here is the diet plan that it's given for day 1. And then it's got one for day 2. And then if you go through to the exercise, it's done the same thing, customized. So that's how you can get a customized response from a web form that was created. One step I forgot to mention here, if we go back to ChatGPT, we actually need to tell it to output in the JSON structure. So if we go, once you've got that all set up like that, we can go down and click on, just waiting for that to load. It's annoying how long it takes for that to load. You want to go down to show advanced settings and click show advanced settings. And then you want to choose the output as JSON object, not text. So choose JSON object and then pass JSON. That's important to do that because that'll give that structure that we just got here. Once we've got it in this structure like this, it's easy to map out and use later on in our automation. So get to that stage there like that. I'm going to leave this as it is because we may want to trigger this again as another test. So we'll just leave this set up like this for now. And then what we're going to do is add an iterator. So click add iterator. So go to flow control and add an iterator. And then we're going to connect it like this. So inside here, an iterator is always looking for an array to iterate over. So click in here and the mappable field in this array is the result that we just got out from ChatGPT. And so it's that result there that we got out. Now what we're actually iterating over is the diet plan. So if you look in here, you can see diet plan here. See how it's got at the end of diet plan. If you just hover over that, you can see it just popped up and it's kind of gone again. But the open and close brackets here is telling us that this is an array. Okay, so we can iterate over that array and extract all the information out of that. Because you got to remember, in that diet plan, it's not just one day, it's 7 days of diet plan. So we want to get all 7 days and extract them out one by one. And the way we do that is using this iterator. So we're iterating and mapping over the field of diet plan like that. And we're going to click save. And then we're going to add a text aggregator module here. So under the tools option, you got text aggregator. And in the source module, we're choosing the iterator that we just created there. So the iterator. Okay, so what we want to do now is we're taking all of the responses that we got out of that iterator and we're stitching them together for every day of the diet plan. So what we do here is if you look at what came out of that diet plan array here. So we go back to diet plan and just look what came out for each day. It's got the day, like day one. It's got what we have for breakfast, snack, lunch, and dinner. So that's what it's putting out here, right? So these fields here, we want to stitch them all together as one text lump per day. So each day is just one sort of paragraph of text. So the way we do that is we text aggregate it. So we have a field called day, just like I've got here, day, breakfast, snack, lunch, dinner. And then what we map next to that is a result from that iterator. So if I click on there, you can map what comes out of that iterator. So the iterator is grabbing the result. So I want to map against day. I have a semicolon. Then I want to map the result for day. So I click day. For breakfast, I want to map that one breakfast, for snack, lunch, dinner. Map them all out like that. I have a new line after each one, so it spaces the results out. So it's not just a big jumbled up blob of text. It's actually has a new line between each one, so it's a bit more tidy, the output. So if I do that, we can actually just unlink this like this, and we could just run this automation again and get it to do this part of the automation for us. So I'll just pause the video to save time. So you can see here now, this output's come out and it's done exactly that. It's got day one, breakfast, snack, lunch, dinner as a text output. And it's done it for each day. So if you look inside, it's done it for day two, it's done it for day three, etc. So this way we can join together all the responses as individual text long strings that we can then use later when we put together our final output. So what we want to do next is do exactly the same thing, but instead of for the diet plan each day, we want to do it for the exercise plan. So what we're going to do is add another iterator. This time, what we're going to map over is actually the exercise plan, not the diet plan. It's exactly the same step we just did. And in here, we do exactly the same thing. The iterator that we're choosing is the one we just set up. And then what we're doing is mapping day and workout. Because if we look back at the output from ChatGPT, under result, under the diet and exercise plan here, if we look into one, it's got day and workout. Those are the two fields that it gave us. So this is just all we're mapping here is day and workout. And we can have new line. You can have a carriage return if you want as well, but you don't necessarily need to have that there. I'll show you why I put that there when we look at the final response. But basically, it's exactly the same for these two steps. You're just iterating over different outputs that came out of ChatGPT. So once you've done that, now we're ready to create the actual lead magnet. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Google Drive for this. And so you're going to need to create a module here, which is a Google Docs module called Create a Document from a Template. Okay, so get that set up, do the authentication process here. So you're going to need to authenticate to your account at Google. And then we need to tell it, well, which template are we using? So we haven't got a template yet, so we need to go and create that template. So I'm just going to show you how to create the template on Google now. So if we go over to the Google Drive, create a new folder where you want this template to live here. So in this example, I just created one called a weight loss program. Okay, so all we need to do here, new on the left, and then from the Google Docs, then go click it and go create and share a new document. And you have a blank document, name it, whatever your lead magnet name you want to have. And then from the file dropdown, excuse me, just click new and then go from template, new from template, and then a template will pop up. So here it gives you lots of options to create templates. So you can just choose any template you like to edit it to get off to the races quicker. So choose any template you want. So I just choose any template here that I wanted to for this example, but you could take your time and customize this template to make it look exactly the way you want and play around with it. But for this video, I'm not going to do that. But you choose your template here, and then I'll show you what the template that I use would look like here. If I open it, this is the template that I chose. Obviously, I've put no time into designing this. This is just for an example. I chose a template. I customized the front page a bit and got rid of stuff I didn't want. I put an image in here. So you can play around with the images. If you go on the on the right-hand side rather, you can play around with creating images. So I think it's over on this side here. Add a comment. I just got to remember how I actually got that image in there. It might be edit image. Yeah, over on the top menu there, you'll see once you've selected image, there's an option to replace the image. And then here you can just prompt it to create an image for you. So you can create any image you want. I just prompted Google to create an image for me and then embedded that. So you can play around with creating your own images. And once you've got the image, you can then change the style of it. You might want to make it wider. You might make it square, whatever you want to do. And you can actually change the color adjustment, anything you like for the image. I'm not going to spend time on designing the opt-in form here, the opt-in that they get, the lead magnet rather, but you can do whatever you like here. So here on this lead magnet, I'm just going to call this the weight loss plan, and then I'm going to say it's a personalized weight loss plan and then we can map in the names of the person, so we can map in their first name and last name. So the way we have mappable fields in these templates is just these squiggly brackets. So anything with two squiggly brackets like this on either side, that then becomes a mappable field. So anything that you want to map in from the automation and make, just put it in a mappable field, and you'll see where this will show up later. So I've put first name and last name as mappable. I've then got another mappable field, which is overview of the plan, right? This is a hard-coded 7-day diet plan section. So this is where we put the diet plan. So underneath that headline, I put the mappable field of diet plan, and then on the exercise plan, I put mappable field of exercise plan. So this is how we can map in fields here. So obviously this is a very simple result, but this would then map in our results from Airtable and from Make, and then it's going to create this into a PDF and email it to the potential lead. So let's have a look how we do that. So once you're at this stage, you just need to save it and name it so you can recognize it. If we go back to Make, when you create this Google document from template here, you can choose to create a document or just choose one from your drive. So you're going to choose this from your drive. And then here, you want to find the folder and the actual file that you just created. So folder and file. Once you select the one you just created, because you'll be able to search in this field here, once you've connected to your Google Drive, then you select the template that you're just playing around with, and then it knows, okay, we're working with that template. And then here, you'll notice here, all those mappable fields that we just went through will all show up here. Remember, we looked at first name, last name, overview of the plan, diet plan, and exercise plan. So if we go back to that template here, all of those mappable fields that we just did here now all show up in this make.com module. So now all we simply need to do is just map in the results that we want to show up in those fields. So if you click it, first name and last name are really easy. They're from the original Airtable that we pulled through, first name and last name. Overview of the plan, that's actually just coming from the ChatGPT module straight out. So that's actually there. We didn't need to iterate over that because that wasn't an array. It was just a text output. So we can map that one straight out of ChatGPT. And then these diet plans here and exercise plan, what we're doing is mapping the results from these text aggregators. So the diet plan one was this one, and the exercise plan one was this text aggregator here. So you can see that's what we're mapping in. That's really all you need to do. So click Save. And then the next step that we want to do is turn this into a PDF. So the way we do that is we create another Google Documents module and Make. This one's called Download a Document. So not create, but download. So if you click here, it's called Download. You need to find the document that you want to download. So the way you do this is you just click in here and you need to give it a document ID. So what we're basically doing is saying, when this document is updated, I then want to grab it and download it and turn it into a PDF. That's what we're doing in this step. So in the document ID, you need to leave it as /, and then you want to map the document ID that came from the previous module when we created that one. So if you look here, it's a mappable field, document ID. And then the type you do from the dropdown as a PDF. So that's all you need to do here is you're mapping that result, turning it into a PDF, and click Save. And then we're going to upload this PDF into a new Drive folder on our drive. So the way we do this is a Google Drive folder. So we go Google Drive, upload a file. So you click in here, authenticate it so it can do it. You find the location. So here you want to create another folder inside of that main folder, call it like weight loss PDF. So it's just a subfolder where the other stuff was kept. So if I look back at my example here, you can see I created a subfolder here. And this is where all the PDFs are going to go. So this was when I was testing. You can see all these PDFs came through here. So just create one called whatever PDFs. And then that is then going to map that PDF that we just created in there and drop it in there for us. So you just do exactly like that and then click Save. And then the final piece of this, and then we're done, is we're just going to email this to the customer. So you send an email module, depending on what email you're using. I've got Gmail set up here. So I'm going to use Gmail. You could use another email service. You just need to authenticate it again. And then for the mappable field here, you would go and choose the actual email from the customer that they put in when they originally filled out the form. So what I've realized now, when I've just gone all the way to the end here, on the original form, I actually forgot to put an email field. So that's easily fixed. I'm not going to do it now because it's so easy to fix, but let's just show you what you would do here to have this as a mappable field, because you can't hard code the email address. It needs to be mapped in. So let's just quickly look at how you would fix that. So you go back to the original Airtable form that we were creating here in Forms. And obviously, the most obvious thing you need to do, which I've overlooked, is under first name and last name, you actually need to ask for their email address. So you'd want to add another form here, and it needs to be an email. You need to collect their email address. So I forgot to add that in. So you just want to make sure that you add a field in here to the table where you had your original table, and we're actually asking for an email. So you can see there's an email field. So you'd click email there, and then you would just click create, and that would be creating an email field. So had you done that, when you got to this step at the end where we're at now, it would have pulled that record through from Airtable, and then when you do your email here, this email would have been a mappable field. So that's a simple fix. For now, I'm just going to hard code an email and email it to myself. For the subject, you can do whatever you like. Again, this could be customized. You could map this if you wanted to have it depending on their response. You could put their name in there. You could do whatever you like. I'm just going to leave it as test, and then the content, I'm just going to leave it as test. Obviously, when you write your emails, you can customize this and say, hey, whatever their name is, we got your form. We realized that, you mentioned you have some struggles with a certain thing when you're losing weight, and that you're a vegan or whatever it is. We've created a customized 7-day report for you to read through and review. Please find attached. So you can customize this whole stuff here. And then all we're doing is adding an attachment. And the attachment is a Google Doc that we're attaching from this previous module. So this is actually the PDF. So you remember in this previous module here that we're mapping it from, it's actually it created a PDF. So what we want to do is just click File, download a document there. So it's mapping that field here. So you just need to make sure you choose this. It's in attachments here. So if you look here, it's got attachments, and then you can choose that file that we just created from the previous module and click Save. So once you've done that, what's going to happen here in this whole automation is they're going to fill out a form. It's going to fire Airtable to trigger the webhook. The webhook's going to get the record from Airtable. ChatGPT is going to read all their responses, customize a report for them, and then we're going to feed all these customized responses into a form that we created, create a PDF, and send it to customized lead magnet to the client. Obviously, you can take this as far as you want and make it even more customizable, but for the sake of this video not being too long, I'm going to stop it here. So let's just put this back together the way it should be. I'm just going to delete that. So in order to put this back the way it should, I'm going to move the trigger back to the webhook, connect those two back together. And instead of just having a hard-coded record ID, I'm going to put the actual record ID that comes from the webhook and click Save, save the automation. And now we can run the full automation. So I'm just going to trigger this whole thing again from the beginning. So I'm going to click Run once. So it's waiting for this to fire. So if we go back to our form here and click Done, let's just fill out the form as if somebody on our website would. And then feeling hungry. Whoops, typo. Lose. Let's just put lose belly fat again. Whoops, sorry about the typos. And then lose 10 kgs. And I'm going to put here gluten-free, fill out the rest of the information, and then I'm going to fire that form. And then you can change this, by the way, once it's submitted, where you take them to. All this is customizable. Then this is going to fire. Now you can see ChatGPT is getting my responses. It's thinking about how to create the diet plan. That's now being created. It's now creating my customized lead magnet. It's going through and creating the PDF. It's uploading the PDF, and now it's going to email that PDF response to me. So if we go over to my email, you can see over at my email here comes the customized response. Here's a personal weight loss plan. If I look down, it's got weight loss plan customized for me. I could have capitalized that if I wanted to. That's pretty easy to do. And then it's got the 7-day diet plan, which is customized to my needs here. So you can see, and then it's got the diet plan and the fitness plan made out. Now, obviously, I didn't do any design. I'm just trying to show you how to map stuff in here. But that's how you do it. Now, there's one thing that was actually missing in here, which I may have forgotten to map in, is the actual summary of the plan. It's gone straight into the personalized weight loss plan and the 7-day diet plan. So let's just see why that didn't map in. If we go back, if we look at the mappable fields that we chose to map in here, I'll just make sure I actually did map that in. So the result it looked like here didn't map in the result of the overview of the plan here. So that's just a mappable field error here. If I'd actually mapped that in correctly, it must have changed once I rebuilt that and reconnected those modules earlier. It changed the name of that to overview here. So I just had to remap that field for that to work. So that's why that didn't pull through. So that's why that was empty. Had I done that and had that mapped properly and checked that before I saved it, what would have happened is there in this overview here, that overview obviously would have been mapped into the result. So the final result that we would have got, if I look at what just came through here, which is this result here, it would have had a summary, field embedded right here, but obviously that's easy to fix. So here's how you can create customizable lead magnets. So you can do a lot with this. Have fun with this. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate if you leave me a comment below. Let me know any other automations you'd like me to do in future videos. And if you haven't subscribed, do me a favor, subscribe and hit a thumbs up as well. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next video.